if they can't afford it, they're not going to come. We need to put financial aid in the forefront. We need to show and demonstrate to students how they can afford to come, and not just come, to graduate.
Enrollment marketing doesn't live in a vacuum. And if you're not in sync with financial aid, you're likely sending the wrong message at the wrong time. Today, I'm joined by Rachel Gordon, a strategic enrollment leader with deep expertise in financial aid, compliance, and student experience. She's currently serving as Vice President of Student Financial Aid Services at American University of Antigua College of Medicine. Rachel's insights aren't just for financial aid officers, they're essential for enrollment marketers too, who want to connect more effectively with students and families. Rachel, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me today.
Let's start with the relationship between marketing and financial aid. So if marketers are trying to get great enrollment outcomes, improve yield, reduce melt, improve retention, what's the cost of being disconnected from the financial aid office?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Students need to understand financing to enroll and retain. We need to stop hiding behind the numbers and start being upfront, having the conversations, really having transparency. When we're talking to students, parents, families, numbers matter. And when we start discussing them from the inquiry phase, we can truly create financing all the way to graduation. Because when we think about it, that's the goal. We're not just enrolling students, we're enrolling future alumni. And when marketing supports those efforts, we just have a stronger funnel.
So a lot of times these offices aren't necessarily in the same division of a college, or even, wider area department mixes aren't necessarily together when it comes to financial aid and marketing. So they're operating a lot of times in parallel, right? So how do we move from operating these two areas in parallel to having them work together in an integrated way so that we can hit a lot of these goals that we want to hit?
We need to evaluate our entire institutional architecture. Financial aid really is integrated into every office. We just don't see it that way, but it's looked at kind of as a backend function when we think about it.
Yeah, support function, right?
Exactly. Financial aid is part of the entire enrollment process. It is part of retention. We have academic progress. We have the bursar that we work with. It might be stewardship for endowment awards. Alumni affairs, without a doubt. Potentially we have students who might qualify for public service loan forgiveness or to discuss their repayment options. Financial aid is working with students for 30 years past when they graduate. It's not always discussed, but it's a realization. When they're going through their most complex moments when they're enrolled, they come to financial aid. We know students are going to get a divorce. Their parent passed away. Somebody lost a job. We have those complex conversations with them, and integrating financial aid at the table while decisions are being made in offices also keeps the institution compliant.
What do you think that looks like in practice? How do we implement that? So we have the best intentions. And even when we understand how, and you're so right, financial aid is emotional. We're talking about family finances. Yeah. Is there anything more emotional than our household expenses and what's going on with our family? And in that sense, not a lot, right? So it totally makes sense. So even if you get to the point you're understanding that, you're understanding how essential financial aid is to the student's individual journey, how do you make that happen? How do you integrate it better so that we can have better outcomes for our students and our institutions?
I'd say institutional education. We need to really go down to brass tacks and have the conversation of the amount of students that are on financial aid, how we are supporting them, and stop defining financial aid simply as just that of Title IV funding. It is so much more encompassing. It is institutional aid, federal aid, private aid, state aid, could be endowments or other institutional-based scholarships that come from donors. We really are integrated. It's such a high level with students, and we need to have an understanding of that. Also, the relationship that your financial aid counselors have with students. It's a really strong one. So often they look at financial aid and they think, oh, it's a cold office, it's procedural, it's compliance, they just disperse money. But in actuality, behind the curtain, we are doing so much more, and we're creating lifelong relationships with students. We need to lean into that more. Yeah. And we need to bring financial aid to the table. And the truth is, we might open up windows and conversations that otherwise might not have been approached just because of the relationships that we've formed with students over the years.
Now, it's not everyone who listens to this podcast, but most people who listen to this podcast, they're a higher ed marketer or they're working in admissions. What do you wish they knew and understood about financial aid?
Oh, that's easy. I say this for 25 years. Admissions is the window, financial aid is the door. No matter how much a student wants to come to your school, how green the trees are in your advertisements, how much money you have spent on marketing, their parent could have graduated from your school. If they can't afford it, they're not going to come. And we need to open up the conversation sooner. We need to put financial aid in the forefront. We need to show and demonstrate to students how they can afford to come, and not just come, to graduate.
What are some of the messages? Because this is really complex information. It's complex information, even if you're an insider, right? And many of the students who are coming through higher education, whether we're talking about private, community colleges, publics, all across the board, this is a common discussion, right? And it is complex. So, what are the things that students most misunderstand? What are the things that marketers especially can come in and sort of help fix or help translate for the students?
Absolutely. We need to take a pause on the wording that we use so often and realize that this is a vulnerability. And when we look at it as a vulnerability and an emotional moment, then we start marketing to it differently. We need to be cautious of the verbiage that we're using and how we're communicating it forward. Because as I always say, perception is reality.
Yeah.
And we need to show students how we can turn this into a reality for them, whether it's us creating sample students that meet their profile to your target audiences. How are they financing their education from non-traditional students, traditional students, low income, mid income, high income? What does a profile of them look like? Students no longer connect to institutions, they connect to people. And we need to show them the people that they're connecting to, current students, the people in your office, how we're going to be supporting them. You know, it really is just a transition of how we're looking at it. Old tactics don't work anymore, and we need to show them what the outcomes are going to be. We really need to break it down, speak in non-jargon, not financial aid terms. Nobody wants to be spoken to in acronyms. I made a joke a while ago and I put an acronym tree on my LinkedIn and it got widely shared because that's what we so often get lost in is all these letters that we understand. We are losing the families. We need to speak to them, show them themselves, and market to them in that way. How can you make this dream a reality?
I have to give you a shout out about your LinkedIn because for anyone who's trying to understand a lot of these things that we're talking about, you do a great job of doing that on your LinkedIn. And Rachel has a lot of people following her content for that exact reason. So if you're a marketer or an enrollment officer, whatever you're doing, and you want to just understand this world better and what the audience struggles with, go and follow Rachel on LinkedIn. So I got to give you a shout out for
I
Rachel.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, that's how I found you.
It's true.
And wanted to have you on this show. So everyone needs to go and do that. What are some of the financial aid verbiage or the acronyms that if you see it or you hear someone doing it and they're saying it, especially to prospective students, it just makes you cringe?
Oh, absolutely. Even when we just talk about the baseline, it used to be EFC, now it's SAI. Parents have no idea what that means. None. They know FAFSA. After that, if you're using letters, walk away. Just walk away. You've lost them. I think of it this way. If I call a bank or if I call any institution and they start speaking to me in their technical jargon, you go into a doctor's office, they lose you. They'll nod, they'll say yes. You walk out, you have no idea what's just happened. We can't be that to students. We need to be the connector. We need to be the definer. We need to be the one who answers the questions before they ask it. So we need to know what are those questions that they're having. And when it comes to education, it's how do I afford to come? How do I afford to graduate? How often will I be receiving my bills? When will my financial aid be dispersed? Go over all the basics with them. Don't tell them, well, when you file your FAFSA, we'll take a look at your SAI and see what your unmet need is. And then if you don't have a C code and you're not selected for verification, but then you also need to do your EI entrance interview and your MPN, that's the look you're going to get. I'm a mom of someone in college. I'll tell you that. I would sit there and say, seriously? You can't do that.
I'm just laughing in my head, picturing a first-time home buyer walking into a bank and being talked to about PMI.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever it might be. It is such a great metaphor for the misunderstandings that are happening when we're using our insider language, really is what it is.
Yes, and we really need to embrace the relationship that our financial aid offices form with our students. So often that's hidden. We act as if it's not occurring, that the financial aid office is just the one who processes aid. But in actuality, we're a relationship office. We are not transactional. We're transformational. And so often it's looked at as the opposite. That's something I talk about all the time, that we change lives and communities. We're not just dispersing aid. We're taking someone, if it's a traditional age student who came from high school, and we're showing them, yes, you can do it, and here's how you can afford it. And we're working with families to do that while we're working with their most vulnerable points: money, education, and potentially their family, children, spouses. And we're helping them to achieve their goals. That's a relationship we need to embrace and lean into.
Absolutely. Because there's many places that might learn something from the relationship approach a financial aid team is taking with their student body.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an example of when a financial aid team and a marketing team, they came together to solve a problem or work really well together, and what that outcome looked like?
Oh, yes. I was a young director at a college in a small town, and we had low FAFSA completion rates. We decided to connect with our athletic department, and we had a FAFSA and fun night. It ended up being marketed on the news everywhere. We invited them to attend, and then afterwards, they got to go to a doubleheader basketball game. We opened up a computer lab. We marketed it everywhere. We gave them food. We even had our marketing team create coloring books for our non-traditional students' children to come with them with the school's logos. They got to take that home with them. We had crayons for them. When I tell you, not only did we see our FAFSA rates go up, we saw our conversion rates go up because our students saw that we supported them. We ended up on the local news, and it became a tradition. It was a small idea, but we worked with marketing to share the message. Students who weren't even considering applying ended up applying, and it became a community affair. It was, if we hadn't worked with marketing, the message wouldn't have gone out. Basically, we took something simple, completing your FAFSA. We took away the stigma. We made it fun. Now you got to go to an athletic game. You got to bring your children with you. We gave them activities. We solved all the complexities that they would have faced in one evening, and our marketing team shared the message forward before and afterwards.
Going into this, knowing I was going to ask a question like that, I would never in a million years have guessed that you were going to tell me it was an in-person event.
It was. It was an in-person event that our marketing team had just completely exploded, ensuring that we had people there, letting them know that we were going to have refreshments. We were giving them free tickets to a basketball game. We were having activities for children. And I have to tell you, those coloring books that we made ended up becoming something the entire college shared for years to come from our marketing department. And anytime you went into an office, we had that with the logos, with the crayons that was made by our marketing team. And then children took them home.
Talk about knowing your audience, right? Because it's that you were creative in the solution, right? You needed to help people be able to get those FAFSAs done, but also you understood the audience that you were trying to serve and the barriers that they were facing. So to me, it goes back to the most essential kind of marketing strategy, which is just understanding your audience and what their needs are in a given moment.
Exactly. And again, in financial aid, we knew what that relationship was ahead of time.
It.
We knew who our students were. We knew the barriers that we heard. So we worked with our marketing team ahead of time to create ways that we can remove those barriers, entertain those children while their parents were completing their FAFSAs, and just ensure that we really had a fun night. And it ended up just being really a huge recruitment effort for our school as well.
If you want to understand your audience, I actually always say the two groups on campus or at your institution that you must talk to are the admissions counselors and the financial aid counselors, because they are the ones on the front line. They know the questions people are having. They know the types of people that are in front of them. They can tell you so much about those barriers and about the things that might stop someone from enrolling or stop someone from continuing on better than I think anyone else on campus. They just hear it. They are on those front lines.
That's our daily life, are those conversations with students.
If you're a marketer who's listening and you're looking for insights and intelligence, you don't have to necessarily do a survey, huge, massive survey out to the students. Like, go and talk to the admissions counselors and the financial aid counselors. I promise they will have a lot of information for you. So you mentioned that marketers can help by simplifying language and not using sort of all the like insider baseball kind of thing when we're trying to talk about costs and financial aid with families. Is there another communication tactic that you wish more marketing teams used to support affordability messaging and messaging about financial aid?
Create sample students. Students want to see themselves. They want to see how they can make this achievable. Not just We give out an average this amount of scholarships. But what does it look like for a student who's similar to my background? And have those ready for them to see. Once a student can see themselves and how they can make this possible, that's when you're going to get the population of students who you never even knew were inquiring because they stopped at your website.
Hmm. Rachel, how have you done that in the past? Is it by
Mhm.
income groups, geographic? Like, how do you sort of
Mhm.
come up with the right personas? What's been your approach to that?
Combination thereof.
Okay.
I always look at it from the perspective of traditional students, non-traditional students, different geolocations, family backgrounds. Even if you're thinking of grad students, putting in there, the parent who's looking to pay for their child, how does that work? And discussing the opportunities for them. Really thinking inside and outside the box. So when they go to the website, they see themselves. And that's really important, that they can look and say, okay, here's my age range. I fall outside of traditional.
Hmm.
Can I make this happen?
Yeah.
And then breaking it down, income information. I usually put location in there as well. I make a whole persona. I make people connect to them. I give them a name. This isn't just student A. This is Fred from
Yeah.
Kansas.
So you're including sort of what I'm picturing anyway
Mhm.
is a pseudo financial aid letter so they can actually see sort of what that will look like. But then do you go into, how the remaining
Mhm.
balance, the gap and how that gets paid
Yeah.
typically by people like them too?
Yeah. I would show it all the way through. I make a whole scenario and I look at it this way. Well, this student has this much they can pay out of pocket that they're putting on a payment plan because here's how much they have per month.
Yeah.
Then here's how much potentially they're borrowing in loans,
Hmm.
grants, because we put their GPA, things of that nature. And here's how we broke down affordability.
It makes me think of a product that we use on Sienna's website is Halda,
Mhm.
which is sort of an AI form. They fill out
Mhm.
information about themselves, and then it gives them, using information mostly from the website, an AI answer, generative AI
Mhm.
answer to the stuff that they're thinking about or what they're coming to the website to try to find. So you don't have to click around everywhere, right? It
Mhm.
just kind of gives you the answers. And I feel like something like that would work really well in this scenario. You tell us about you, and we'll tell you like what your financial aid and sort of value scenario would look like for your particular situation.
Yes, 100%. Lean into technology. That's why it's there. Honestly, use AI, create these student personas, have the ability for students to see themselves. They need to have the answers of how can I afford this? A lot of times students and families look at sticker prices and they say, there's no way. And in actuality, if they completed their FAFSA, they spoke to us, or if we had these scenarios, they'd say, you know what? Maybe I can.
Yeah, I mean, I can just picture this being such a powerful tool and one that probably 99% of us are missing out on, right? Because we kind of hold it to the vest until it's time, to decide if you're going to go or not. Maybe then we'll have a conversation about your financial aid and what that's going to look like. So I can so see how this would be a game changer just thinking about it from this perspective. One of the things that you keep saying that's resonating with me is the value that the financial aid team brings to building those student relationships.
Mhm.
What do you think that means for long-term brand loyalty? Because I think that's something that maybe we're not paying enough attention to,
Mhm.
is not just the moment we got you to enroll, maybe we even got you to graduate. But let's talk about this like lifetime relationship that we have with people. And what role do you feel like financial aid plays in that? And also, what lessons should the rest of us take away from them?
Absolutely. We meet students from inquiry forwards and we learn about them. We learn about their lives. We learn about their families. And then long after they graduate, we're helping them to repay their loans. We're communicating with them. We're going over with them their future planning. We're future proofing their finances. We're really having discussions with them about the rest of their lives, what it means, even how they file their taxes, because it impacts how they repay their loans once they're married. These are the conversations happening in financial aid offices. We need to lean into that because our alumni are truly our best admissions counselors. When they're out there talking about the relationships they've had with institutions, about their financial aid office still working with them 15 years later, about them giving them guidance if you filed married, filing joint, or married separately, how that impacted their repayments. These are lifelong relationships. They don't end at the cap and gown, they go long beyond that. And any other office on campus needs to lean into that to see how those communications work,
Yeah.
especially admissions, because we are the keepers of retention. We are the keepers of our alumni. And the truth is, our invisible marketing happens through those relationships.
Yeah. I always say that the words, "you should look at X school," coming from someone in your life who you have a relationship with, is so much more powerful than any kind of marketing or any kind of advertising that we can do, right? So financial aid plays a role in creating that emotional connection that makes someone want to say that to another person. I
Yeah.
went to Siena, I went to this school, and you should look at it, right? There's literally nothing better than that. Nothing
Yeah.
will ever beat the word of mouth.
100%. I mean, from our office, we send them congratulations letters as we know that it's match day, as white coat
I love that.
ceremony. We make sure that we stay in contact with them. It's so important that we have an open door, that they know that we're here for them, that we're a positive impact, and that we're proud of them. And I feel like that's created a really strong intercommunication that we're seeing with our students.
I love that. It's not, you're not making it just about financial aid. You really are making it about the relationship in those moments for them. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, I have one last question. So if there's a marketer listening right now who wants to collaborate better with their financial aid team, what's one meeting that they should request this month? What's the topic of the meeting they should request?
I would talk to your financial aid office, and then I would ask them, what is it, the information that they want to carry forward? So personally for me, I make monthly marketing campaigns for my marketing team. I share forwards to them what's going on. So for example, we just had Financial Aid Awareness Month. So we did entire month worth of posts about financial aid awareness. We're also talking about things such as public service loan forgiveness, because I'm at a medical school. We really do work with ensuring that we have information out there. Right now, as we know, a hot topic is OB3, or the One Big Beautiful Bill, and how there's transitions in financial aid going on. But I would make sure that your communication is really population specific. And if anything, talk to your financial aid office. They will build a marketing campaign for you because they do know what's important to your students. I can give you one topic, but it's going to be what's front of mind for mine. Talk to
Yeah.
your financial aid office, and they'll tell you what's front of mind for yours.
Right. Great lesson there. Because I think on both sides, it's about being proactive.
Mhm.
If you're a financial aid person and you're listening to this and you're frustrated that the marketing team is not marketing or communicating some of the really key things you know are important, go to your marketing team.
Yes.
And vice versa. Marketing team, go find out what the financial aid team knows is really important to your
Yes.
audience right now.
And one more thing is to make sure you're sending your financial aid marketing in 3 ways: prospective students, current students, and alumni, because you need to talk to all 3.
Yes, we have to serve. Yes, and alumni is probably an audience that often gets missed in this kind of discussion.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel, thank you so much. I think it's clear for everyone that financial aid is not just about forms. From our conversation, we're talking about access, we're talking about emotional connection, we are talking about trust. So if you're an enrollment marketer listening, this episode is your reminder that your best campaign doesn't exist in a vacuum. You've got to collaborate with the people who protect access, and they remove barriers, and those people can be found in your financial aid office. Rachel, where can people follow you and keep learning about your insights? I already mentioned LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else everyone should be following you?
Honestly, it's only on my LinkedIn currently. That's
right.
where it is. All my posts are out there daily.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you enjoyed this show, make sure to share it with a friend and review and recommend it wherever you're listening. Until next time.